package just came in. I believe this is the sump gasket for that engine, and I'm already having doubts because of how big this packaging is. Sump gasket is basically bigger than the engine, so they've sent us the wrong one. If you're a patrol guy that has a TD42, this is the part number for this sump gasket. She's packaged up, ready to be sent away. So I've gone ahead and put all the coolant system pieces back, like the thermostat housing, sensors, and the coolant pipe. So if you're gonna do a refresh like me, don't forget about the O-rings on these coolant pipes. I've used 3-bond high temp RTV silicone gasket maker. It's basically an alternative for Honda Bond, and I've used this and smothered gasket maker onto those O-rings so that coolant won't leak from any places in here. And I did the exact same thing for the gasket for the water pump as well. I've also gone ahead and installed the cam seals for the cams. And a huge shout out to Perth Honda Official on Facebook for coming in clutch and supplying me with a Cometic intake manifold gasket and this Honda OEM gasket as well for the sump. So what we'll try and accomplish today is basically get the oil pan cleaned and put the new gasket on there, and also refresh the oil pump and get the front main replaced as well. I've basically just put these tapes around so that oil would not flow down underneath the engine block. So basically got as easy access to the oil pan right now, and we'll just start taking those bolts off. I don't think this oil pan gasket has been changed before, due to the fact that it does not have any gasket on there, and it still has the OEM gasket for the rear main and the front main as well. Looks like the oil pickup screen's doing its job, preventing all those RTV gaskets from going through the oil ports. So we'll take off the oil pump, the oil pickup, and the baffle plate off. I won't separate the oil pump and the pickup because I'm not sure if we can get any of those gaskets that's in between here. So I've basically taken the front main seal out, and then the oil pump comes off with the baffle and the pickup. So what I'm going to do now is basically wash oil pan and the baffle, and paint this as well because of the overspray that I did on the block. When you're resealing oil pumps like this, don't forget to replace this O-ring, because over time, as you all know, they get all flat and crusty like this. So finally got the sump gasket out. I might have to take this at work to go under the robo wash. So I've got the baffle plate, the oil pan that's been painted already, and I've cleaned the mating surfaces for the oil pan and the oil pump, and I'll be going ahead and taking off the remain housing. So I'll basically use plastic scraper and the normal razor blade to clean the mating surfaces for this engine. You can use either one, but plastic scraper, I got this off Temu for like $2. So rear main seal has been installed. I torqued these 10mm bolts down to 10 foot-pounds or 13 Newton meters in a crisscross pattern. So I got the oil pump installed. I torqued these 10mm bolts down to 8 foot-pounds or 10 Newton meters, and these 12mm bolts to 17 foot-pounds or 16 Newton meters as well. I had to take off the pickup because it was interfering when I tried to install the oil pump, so I just made my own gasket again, which is this one, and we'll just install that. So I'm gonna install the baffle plate now, and the torque specs for these 10mm bolts is 8 foot-pounds or 10 Newton meters as well. So baffle plate all torqued down, and now we move on to the pickup. So if you guys mixed up your bolts for the oil pan with the pickup, just letting you know that the two smaller 10mm bolts are shorter, that's for the pickup, and the longer ones are for the oil pan. So I'm just going to put a thin layer of gasket maker onto that gasket that we made, and we'll torque the 2 nuts and 2 bolts down to 8 foot-pounds or 10 Newton meters. So I finally got everything torqued down and marked, from the rear main, the baffle, the pickup, and the oil pump. And moving on to the sump. So basically got my gasket maker spread out all around where the sump would sit, and just don't forget to put a couple more where the oil pump meets the block and the rear main meets the block as well, which is these 4 corners right there and right there. Just make sure you guys don't stack the double washers that are in these holes, because when you take the old one off, sometimes those washers get stuck in there and you might double stack them with the new one, and that could cause a major oil leak. So once you've got all your bolts and nuts up against the oil pan, we torque these 10mm bolts and nuts to 9 foot-pounds or 12 Newton meters. I'll put up a screenshot of the sequence on which one you do first up until to the last one. That basically concludes the sump installation for this engine.